Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear, which again, great name. Pretty good, informative content. Has some more Starfield leaks and behind the scenes stuff for us to look at. I am super hyped for Starfield. I think Starfield's going to be a good game. I think they've released enough to kind of give you that sense that it's going to be well put together. I expect some bugs. I'm thinking it probably won't be game breaking stuff. And I believe that they've done enough testing of the product to actually give us something to look forward to. So let's see what's going on in the Starfield universe.
It's Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear, and at the time of publication for this video, we are now at T-minus 24 days to go until Starfield hits the button to launch into early access. Close. And we've got some new details concerning a marketing push. All sorts of questions and a bit of buzz were created by the Kind of Funny Games podcast. Plus,
honestly, do they need a massive marketing push? At this point, I think a lot of people are hyped and a majority of people know that this is coming out and kind of what the game is about and what they're trying to deliver, right?
We just received a little leak concerning Starfield pre-downloads. I also wanted to toss around some questions and possible theories as to why we had to leave Earth, and finally, the pre-launch hype comparisons and why I think we are looking at this from the completely wrong angle. I appreciate your continued support towards all my Starfield uploads. Researching and theorizing about this game has been a blast, and in case you haven't yet done so, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. I've of course included chapters for easy viewing, and let's kick this one off. First up is the confirmation that the Starfield marketing plan is starting to see a bit of a more obvious surge. This is the first of two tweets fired off by Idle Sloth, I'll be referencing in today's video, confirming that Starfield seems to have ramped up its marketing campaign, stating, FYI, Starfield ads are finally starting to blast off. People are seeing them on Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, and in a Saudi Arabia electronics store. And this also confirms that marketing, and more specifically targeted marketing campaigns, have really changed in the last 10 years. Now, we used to get bombarded by TV ads, which I am sure cost the absolute most money, but with these targeted splashes on Facebook, Reddit, and YouTube, you know, the places that planet Earth tends to.
I do think that that's one place where the internet offers the best experience, is the fact that targeted ads exist. Targeted ads are so much better. I wish Twitch would figure out how to do targeted ads. With Amazon owning them in the background, there's no way that they wouldn't have the data to be able to deliver that product and make it just better for the viewer experience. But I think like generalized, throw it out to everyone and see what sticks isn't nearly as effective.
To go to consume media, Starfield is there and making a push. It would be really interesting to be a fly on the wall of Xbox's marketing floor and just see how many potential sales they are wanting to achieve. Starfield is already a day one drop on Xbox Game Pass, so this would have to be aimed at Microsoft sales such as PC and premium upgrades, anyone on Xbox not on Game Pass, and of course, Steam PC users. Now, right now, Starfield has jumped up 15 places to take the 6th spot on Steam's top 100 sellers list, and if you take out CSGO and Call of Duty, which are both free, along with the actual Steam Deck sales, that places Starfield in the top 3 behind 2 games that have already released to the public. Switching gears, and a few days ago during the most recent Kind of Funny Games podcast, we heard this.
Can I say this, and I will keep it anonymous.
Anonymous,
okay. Innocent.
Okay.
I may or may not have talked to someone that has been playing Starfield.
Whoa!
What?
And they may or may not have got me pretty hyped for it, in the sense that this anonymous person said that they're going to be very
How did they do it?
fascinated to see how it's reviewed, just because of the size of what this game is, just how big it is. And I'll leave it at that.
That is going to be a problem. I think it's very interesting that the way he worded that, because if you think about it, the way a lot of reviews are done, people spend a certain amount of time in a game, and then they like base the review off of let's say like a 3-hour play session or whatever. And with the size and scope of this game as it's been described and as everything's been said, I think it's very hard, or it's going to be hard for people to get all of that experience. I think a lot of game reviewers and just streamers, gamers in general, do this thing where they like speed run through games as fast as they can to try to like experience as much as possible, and just getting through it is kind of the goal, instead of like laying back, enjoying the development, and like going through it at a slower, natural pace. It's this like get through it, push through it quick, consume as fast as possible mentality. And it could be interesting with the size and scope of this game. If they only do like a 3-hour play session, is that going to give the review an advantage or disadvantage? And what mechanics are they going to miss during those reviewing playtests because of how they're playing it?
Leaving some to speculate in the comment section that it was actually Paris, the gentleman making the comment, that was already playing the live game and was anonymously making a comment about his current experiences with Starfield. But it again brings forth this topic of just how big Starfield is, as in the sheer size and scope of this game. Now, I believe that Skyrim Special Edition was cool. Something like 24.5 gigs on Xbox. And just for comparison, Starfield is weighing in at 125 gigs. So 5 times the size of Skyrim Special Edition. And oh, by the way, for PC, remember that it is requiring the use of an SSD. But the size of the game itself creates a whole new set of issues, especially when it comes to accurately reviewing the game for the purposes of early review content. During this portion of the podcast, Paris really drills down into what it is he wants to experience as part of his review, and it ranged from character creation to shipbuilding, factions to weapons, and despite Todd Howard deflecting the question, can we find a black hole, and what happens after? Depending on when the early review copies are sent out, will ultimately determine if you, the viewers, will be able to watch full, comprehensive reviews prior to playing and or purchasing the game, or will it become a review in progress where certain items are touched on, but in general context. Now, we've
it feels like there's going to be so many different ways to play the game, which is exciting, right? Because with all the different systems in place, I don't think there's any situation where any two experiences are going to be the same. And I think you're going to have this like versatility in your gameplay based off of the like size and the different mechanics about like, do I want a small and agile fighter style ship, or do I want a huge cargo hauler type ship? Do I want to specialize in being deceptive, or do I want to specialize in like hunting and being like a gatherer out in the wild? That is the type of like immersion that allows you to have these unique experiences that can make the game truly great.
I've seen reports that the main quest storyline is ranging from 30 to 40 hours. And from past experience, we also know that BGS titles are packed full of side content. I remember when I received a review copy to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It was exactly 7 days until they were lifting the review embargo, which was clearly not enough time to finish the game. I posted my review after about 50 hours of gameplay in just 1 week, and I eventually rolled credits at about 100 hours. And so I agree with Paris's 0-hour statement that at about 2 weeks to go before launch, if he has not yet received his code by then, that's when he would begin to panic. Assuming that a review is spoiler-free, do you plan on watching anything Starfield review related prior to launch, or do you plan to just drop in blind? Let me know in the comment section below.
I mean, obviously, I consume this type of content. I'm watching it right now. I don't think I'll watch any reviews or gameplay until I actually get into it. Like, as far as like the news and what to expect and stuff like that, that's one thing. But I don't want to actually see someone going through the game until I first step into the game. So like, as far as reviews and just straight gameplay, that is something that I want to wait and experience for the first time when I load in and make my character.
Next up, we've seen bits and pieces of lore concerning the reason humans had to leave Earth. And by the way, this is an item that I find truly fascinating. Will Shen, lead quest designer for Starfield, confirmed that humanity no longer inhabits Earth, implying that the planet's atmosphere or landscape had...
I never even really thought about like whether we were still on Earth or not. Like, I guess I just kind of assumed that it was an option that you could go to, but if that's not the case, that's interesting. Unwelcoming for human service. So this is an after Earth type experience.
rendered it unwelcoming for human survival. And we've seen clips from previous Starfield trailers, including the direct presentation, showing off what appears to be an astronaut standing on...
I guess I saw this clip and it didn't even register to me that there should be like a massive river here, and you know the city of St. Louis is missing, which also just, you know, creator note, why is the arch here but the city is all destroyed? How did the city deteriorate but the arch weathered the storm? Just
on what is left of Earth, looking up at the Gateway Arch, aka the St. Louis Arch. Now, Shen was also quoted as saying, yeah, actually very early on in the main quest, we take you to our solar system, which in our lore is called the Old Neighborhood. And you'll be sent there on a mission from Constellation to discover the mysteries of the artifacts, and you'll get in contact with the question of what happened to Earth. And so the question still remains as to what actually happened to force humanity off of Earth. And here's one possible theory. It involves the colony wars that took place 20 years before the setting of Starfield. Looking at the star map, we can see the Sol system, which is our solar system and where Earth is located. And we can also see the systems of Alpha Centauri and Cheyenne, the systems for the United Colonies and Freestar Collective. We also know that the Freestar Collective won the colony wars, and so they would have advanced close or up to the Alpha Centauri system, meaning they would have conquered the outlier systems from Alpha Centauri outwards, which of course included Sol and all the planets in that system. Could a massive battle have taken place on Earth, and that's why it became so ravaged and unable to sustain life? Were nuclear weapons involved, or was there some sort of powerful grav-like device that was unleashed, possibly using the strange alien tech from the trailers? And by the way, here's an even crazier theory for you. Starfield takes place in the year 2330. Fallout 4 takes place just 43 years earlier in 2287. Are they related? Was it the nuclear fallout that eventually pushed humans off of Earth? And are we going to find a fallout?
When I sided with the Brotherhood and I destroyed the town with more nukes, that's what led to Starfield? That would be that would be an interesting crossover like storyline. I don't think they're going to go with it. They called it a completely new and unique IP, so I don't think there's going to be crossover, but that would be like an interesting little side thought, right?
Easter egg on Earth when and if we get to visit our former home. Moving over to the latest Starfield leak, and this was again posted by Idle Sloth on X, formerly Twitter, where he says, FYI, Starfield preloads starts on August 9th according to Amazon, and then it credits another user, Superstar F, for the post. And if you look this one over, it shows the cover of Starfield included in an Xbox Series S bundle, along with a copy of Starfield with a published August 9th preload date, playable on September 6th. So this is the standard game, not including early access, and it also includes the old Mars skin pack in-game bonus skin, which many of you will instantly recognize as the deep mining helmet and pack, along with the laser cutter. And again, if this Amazon post is accurate,
I do want to point out, because I find it absolutely hilarious, every single creator has done it that I've watched in the last couple of weeks. This whole like Twitter, formerly it's X, formerly Twitter X, whatever we're calling it. Are they still tweets? Are they stories, messages, posts? What? This whole like X transition brand thing is hilarious to watch people like go about. And I think the best theory that I've seen on it that people are looking at is that the company wants to take on this like larger, broader space where X also is involved in maybe crypto exchange and a couple other like features that have different X labeled companies all wrapped into one platform under the X umbrella so that you can do more features in the same ecosystem. I've heard theories that I think that's where they want to take it, and that's why they rebranded Twitter. But I don't know. I think it's just a confusion we're all trying to work through.
We can assume at least one important piece of information, that being that Starfield is ready for distribution. And I know that some questions have been raised as to why Starfield has not yet achieved Gold Master status, which, by the way, is not an industry requirement, meaning that
nice
a version
to hear, actually. The thought and idea that they're ready to do preloads and they're ready to launch right now is refreshing and new in the way that, like, I think a lot of games recently have been, like, in full-on grind mode all the way to the last minute. Like, it's right there. We're almost ready. We're getting the last couple of things. Like, it feels like recently game development has been like, hurry. Oh, it's here. And then they have to fix things after the fact. To hear that a game is probably ready to launch right now, a month out from the actual release date, is really nice to hear, as opposed to the opposite where you're thinking, what are they going to have to fix day one because they're not actually ready yet?
Of the game has been determined to be good enough to be shipped to stores. That lack of the Gone Gold announcement led to theories that the game was in a terrible state and that delays were imminent. Well, here it is, apparently ready to download in less than 4 days.
Good to go.
So again, if this Amazon post is accurate, that theory goes right out the window. Along these same lines, this Old Mars skin pack, or others like the Constellation skin pack for pre-ordering the Constellation Edition, has led rise to the theory that there will be a cosmetic store and microtransactions will be a part of the game. I'm not going to really dive into this idea. We are talking about a single-player experience.
I don't understand it. It's a single-player experience. I have no doubt that there probably will be some form of microtransaction cosmetic store, but it's a single-player game. What's the point? Unless you're doing content creation and you're, streaming it all the time, and even then, like, what's the point? It changes what you're looking at. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But if they want to throw that in there, have at it, as long as it doesn't change the gameplay.
The Bethesda has stated will remain a single-player game. If it does not have optional cosmetics, really has little consequence. If players want to spend a few bucks to spice up the way their character looks, I don't have an issue with that. Now, if we were talking multiplayer PvP and certain items allowed for faster power level ups or weapons or gear came with extra stats, now that would be a completely different story.
I think that's always been my point with microtransactions, what he just said. If it doesn't affect the gameplay or the experience or how strong you are, doesn't matter. Microtransactions for days. If you want to sell something that changes the way I look, have at it. It's just an appearance thing. It makes no difference. But if you're going to sell something that fundamentally changes how good I am at the game or how effective I am at doing certain things, now I have an issue, because now you're selling pay to win, and some people just don't have the time, money, or effort to put into that. So, like, you're changing the experience for other players who aren't willing to pay, and that's a problem.
Finally, I wanted to briefly circle back to a topic I covered in my last Starfield upload, discussing some of the hype surrounding the game, and for the purposes of this topic, how it is being unfairly compared to Spider-Man 2. Now, I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty with
Not
this one.
even
You can do some of the
close.
research of the history of this comparison, but it came down to a Twitter user posting his findings, accurate or flawed, I'm not here to debate that with anyone, and how he used Google Analytics to set up a side-by-side look at how Starfield was trending versus Spider-Man 2. And his findings were then used to debunk the theory that nobody cared about Starfield or nobody was talking about Starfield. Again, that comparison discussion is not what I want to break down because at its core, I think the test subjects are inherently flawed from the start. Really, the only two areas that
Such a disingenuous argument because there is no overlap in the games. They don't deliver anything that's remotely the same experience except for maybe like open world play. And I think he's getting ready to get into this, but the two franchises have nothing to do with each other. They're not the same style of game. They don't hit the same core audience necessarily. Like one is a shooter game and one isn't. I don't know. I think it's done for no reason whatsoever, and it goes into that whole argument that gamers today just want to compare games to other games for the sake of comparing games for no reason. Everyone wants to hold something up against a different metric as opposed to just looking at the franchise or the game as it sits on its own merit. You don't have to compare games to other games, just compare the game to what you think that game is. Is this game good? Does this game deliver? Let it speak for itself.
Starfield and Spider-Man 2 do show some similarities, as that they both launch kind of soon and they are both expected to be big. A more natural fit for a comparison would be Cyberpunk 2077,
Oh, God.
as it is the same genre as Starfield,
They missed
action
the mark.
role-playing, had somewhat similar hype and buzz surrounding the game leading up to launch, although
It is
we've
accurate,
never
though.
yet seen those levels that Cyberpunk received, and they are both launching at similar times, albeit Cyberpunk with Phantom Liberty DLC and Starfield with its full launch, but they're at least close. Plus,
is a lot
they are both
closer.
sci-fi and were completely new IP versus something like Spider-Man, which is MCU
sequel.
and is instantly recognizable across the globe. The biggest argument I could gather from all of this Spider-Man 2 versus Starfield screaming boiled down to views on YouTube trailers. And if we replace Spider-Man 2 with my
Fair.
more natural comparison, Cyberpunk, it starts to make more sense. Now, we can't use the oldest Cyberpunk trailers, as remember, it was teased nearly 8 years before it released, which is mind-blowing. But if we
That
limit
is
the time
fair.
frame to, say, the last 2 years, just watch how close these view counts are. Now, besides the official gameplay trailer for Cyberpunk, which is now 2 years old and sitting at 33 million views, just
right.
look at the other view counts for the next 4 official trailers. You've got Launch Trailer V, 18 million views, Phantom Liberty, 2.6 million views, which is 11 months old, and the newest is 7 months old at 1.8 million views, which is the second Phantom Liberty trailer. Now,
Okay.
I'll leave these up on the screen and add on Starfield so you can see just how close this is. And I wanted to apologize up front, as Bethesda Softworks does not have their Starfield playlist set up exactly as I need it, but you've got an official teaser trailer from 2 years ago with 18 million views, gameplay reveal at
Seems fair.
5.1 million and 1 year ago, and then the Barrage starting 1 month ago, gameplay trailer, 2.1 million. Starfield Direct,
Solid.
2.9 million, and then the 3
So
animated
good.
shorts all 12 days ago at 2.8, 3.7, and 3 million views. I'll wrap it all up with this.
So it's doing slightly
Cyberpunk
better than
2077 was
Cyberpunk
considered a
hype.
once-in-a-lifetime hype train extravaganza, the likes.
That being said, Cyberpunk had a really bad launch. And now we're talking about the DLC for like those latest videos. So Cyberpunk, I think, lost a lot of its fan base due to its launch, whereas Starfield is still new and no one has dropped off because the launch hasn't happened yet, is the only thing that I could see a fault in that comparison with. But the numbers are pretty comparable. Even with the bad launch, the state of Cyberpunk now is much better than it was at launch, and there's a DLC that people are excited about, but I think they would have better numbers had that bad launch not occurred. whereas Starfield doesn't have that bad experience in their history yet.
Of which we have never yet seen. I mean, before it launched, it was as big can be. And I know that this is just one small slice of the action. We're not getting the whole picture here, like social media impressions, etc. But just using these YouTube video view count accusations and comparing Starfield to a genre of game that it more exactly stacks up against, the numbers don't lie. It is right there, neck and neck with Cyberpunk 2077. Now, the only comparisons left to happen, we'll have to wait for Starfield to fully launch, and we will again get to compare these two pieces of action RPG history. Lots of different topics tossed around in this one, theories, concepts, and some new info. And as always, I welcome your feedback about anything Starfield in the comments section below. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. All my socials can be found in the video description. Shout out to the over 131,000 of you that have taken the leap and hit subscribe. And as always, a huge thanks goes out to my patrons on Patreon. I've also been seeing some of you out there hitting those YouTube chat super thanks. I mean,
yeah, you know, he's definitely worth keeping an eye on. I think he does great videos. I think he lays out a lot of information. He has a really good delivery style and good editing. Just in general, he does really well at this type of stuff. And I like watching all of his stuff. It's good. I don't know how I want to hit on the last point again, because like I don't know how I feel about like comparing it to Spider-Man. Doesn't make sense, and neither does Cyberpunk necessarily, not in its current state anyway, because you're talking about a DLC for a game that had a really rocky start and rebuilt its reputation to where it is now, versus a game that's having a fresh launch. So it's still hard to make that comparison, but I think it is closer, like he said, to apples and apples. But it's not right on the button. I'm just hyped for the game. I think it's going to be really good. I think that they have to prove that it works and works well. But from everything that they've put out so far, it gives me a lot of hope that they've established all of these processes that I'm looking forward to and that I want to experience in the game. I think Starfield's going to be a good game. I just hope that it's not false hope like with what happened in Cyberpunk.
And subscribe, do this stuff. You want all that? All of that. Hey there, it's Skeg Froggy. Thanks for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and follow me here on Twitch for more awesome content. Link is in the description.